What's going on, everyone? It's Joe here, back with some jargon. And today I just want to make a quick video to discuss a theory I have around the Ahsoka show. And this is based off some leaks and rumors that have already come out. And it kind of has to do with where this whole story in the Mandoverse is headed. So there are going to be some potential leaks and spoilers of the Ahsoka show. So if you're not interested in hearing anything about that, I would say go ahead and click away from the video. That being said, if this is your first time to the channel, please do like and subscribe. So I'll get into it now. So basically, there's been a lot of talk around the fan base, at least, about bringing Mara Jade into the canon. And I think a lot of that kind of surrounds around trying to fill in the story or the backstory of Luke Skywalker. We know in Legends that she eventually became his wife, and as far as we know in canon, he never had a wife, he never married. But I do think a lot of people think that it could help kind of solidify his stance in The Last Jedi, where he kind of didn't seem like himself. So maybe there's a reason he went into exile. Maybe there was a wife and she got killed by Ben Solo or something along those lines. So there have been a lot of kind of speculations about if that could happen. But everything that I've seen has basically said at this point that she is not going to be canon. And something that I was reading the other day kind of made me think that they're actually going to replace what would be that Mara Jade character with someone else. So Dave Filoni has already talked about how the Mandoverse shows are going to loosely adapt the Heir to the Empire trilogy. We know that he's a massive fan of Heir to the Empire. We know that it takes place around 9 ABY, which is when the Mando era shows take place. They have Thrawn, obviously, and they deal with the Imperial remnants and the New Republic and kind of the struggle for establishing that new government. So a lot of the pieces of Heir to the Empire are already there in canon now. But there's a few things that are obviously missing, and that's our main three characters, which are Luke, Han, and Leia, and then Talon Karrde, Mara Jade, and Joruus C'baoth, who is the Dark Jedi that Thrawn partnered with. So I'll get into it now, but I'm going to go ahead and share an article from MakingStarWars.net. They actually leaked this, I believe, a couple months ago, but essentially there's going to be a kind of dark side force user named Balin, played by Ray Stevenson, and he's kind of going to be Thrawn's second in command, as stated here. So if that's the case, then I don't believe we're going to get a Joruus C'baoth type clone Jedi who's maybe just gone mad or gone crazy. I do think it would have been cool to see Mace Windu as a clone Jedi in this era. I think that would be the only way to bring Mace Windu back, because he is absolutely dead from the prequels, so I don't want him, brought back any other way. But I think that would have been a cool workaround. But it looks like Balin is going to be this this dark Jedi or dark side force user that is kind of by Thrawn's side during this time in canon. But the interesting thing when I was reading about this is the fact that Balin is going to have an assassin apprentice named Shin, played by Ivanna Sakhno. So that's the really interesting part here. So Ivanna Sakhno is actually, I think, 25 years old. I looked it up, which would place her around that age of the Mara Jade character. She's going to be a dark side force user who wants to prove herself to her Jedi Master. It says she's cold, calculated. I mean, this almost describes exactly what Mara Jade was in the Heir to the Empire trilogy. And then the other really, really interesting part is that she will basically be tasked with hunting and killing Ahsoka Tano. So one thing about this adaptation that's going to be taking place within canon is that Ahsoka Tano is essentially taking the place of Luke Skywalker. They can't be sitting there and deep faking Luke into every scene and doing long-standing story arcs with him, mostly because it's going to be impossible and extremely expensive. And the technology, it's great. Honestly, he looked incredible in Book of Boba Fett, but it just isn't quite there to be believable in the sense that, yeah, I think that person could, develop a relationship with another real stand-in live character or live actor. So I think that's kind of the issue and why we're not going to see a ton of Luke or Luke be a main character in the story. So I think Ahsoka is going to take the spot of Luke and be our Jedi hero in this Heir to the Empire kind of adaptation that they're doing. It's going to be a very loose adaptation, I think. I mean, I don't expect to see the same story beats. I do think Boba Fett will probably fill the role of like Talon Card. I think that, you know, he's got his assistant who's Fennec Shan, and she's his assassin. So now that we're seeing that Balin also has an assassin who's tasked with hunting Ahsoka Tano, that's the really important part here. I don't think at all we're going to get Mara Jade, because she's essentially taking her spot, or what would be her spot in this. And the reason is because in Heir to the Empire, Mara Jade was tasked with hunting down and killing Luke Skywalker. That was her last command, or last order given to her by the Emperor. She was the Emperor's hand, and she followed through with it in a way. If you read the books, I don't want to spoil anything for you. But you know, that is exactly the same mission, essentially, when we swap out Luke for Ahsoka here. So I think the story arc is going to be very, very similar. I think maybe eventually she'll befriend Ahsoka and come to trust Ahsoka. Ahsoka is obviously much older, so I don't think we're going to have that same kind of down the line romance like there is in the duology, the Thrawn duology, which comes later. But I definitely think there could be a similar like turn to the light side for this Shin character. I will say, if Shin shows up and has red hair and a purple lightsaber, then it might be a little, you know, it might be a little over the top. But I think they're trying to kind of set up a character that we can look at in that way, who's kind of just a badass, like, Force user who's young and still kind of has a lot to prove, and a lot to learn as well. So should be interesting. I personally don't love that they're doing that. I would rather just see Mara Jade, and especially bring her into canon so that we can have that backstory with Luke, because I think it would be really important to his characterization in The Last Jedi. But, you know, we're going to get what we're going to get, and I'm not going to, you know, judge anything until I see it on screen. I do trust Dave Filoni. He's done a lot of great stuff for Star Wars, and we'll really just have to see what he comes up with. I'm really excited for the Ahsoka show. It's probably my most hyped show of the year, or probably even for the next couple of years. So I got, you know, big hopes for that show, and I think we're going to see a lot of cool things happen in that show, especially if any of the leaks are to be believed. But that's all I got for you today. So if you did enjoy the video, please do like and subscribe, and tune in next time.
Lolo Mataffa.